Hey, this is a reading for the 19th of April until the 25th. Let's dive in and see what's there for everybody that watches this. Oh, it's talking about intuitive reading, that ability within each of us that we are able to access this place in us that takes us into what is quantum. I say that intuition is you're reading the energy that's between the atoms. Some people say channeling and so on, but really channels are people that receive the entity within their body and their voice changes, their body language changes. It's really notable. So we're really not channeling, but we're looking at that energy. Okay, that's where it starts. We must be in a high intensity of intuitive energy right now in this week. And then there's this maybe propensity where, say that we have a can where we're pushing that down, we're stuffing that ability in something. We might feel like we want to hide it away. We might feel unsure about it. We may have been experiencing it a long time, and all of a sudden there's this bit of driving up, this ability that drives up within us and is shared, or we can share it. We don't always have to share it. I've been reading energy a long time, and I've been able to do this since I was a child. And I always say there are 8 billion people on Earth. There are so many people that you don't have to be the one who is the messenger to give that information. There are other people that are there to give it. So keep that in mind. It might not have to be you, that others can help. So this is interesting energy, though. We might feel like we've been stuffing it in a can, or we haven't been willing to initiate it or allow it out. And I'd say to you, go slow, right? Take it easy. Let it unfold naturally. Take a look at things and watch for the patterns. That's really what a solid intuitive has been doing it a long time, where they're watching the patterns. They're seeing, how do these patterns work? How does that click to the next thing? And how does that work? And my work is about really understanding the decoding of how intuition works. So this is no accident that this is the reading. This is pretty cool. Okay. And then it shows you're going to come into it like a wave, right? You're going to feel like you've got it, and then it's going to wave away a little bit. And then you're going to feel like you've got it, and then it's going to calm down or be quiet a little bit. That's just how it works. All spiritual things, although I think of them as just very human because we are here to be humans, cycle and circle. When we have some growth that's happening, it tends to be in a circle. And once we've clinched that full circle, that then at that next point is when we'll hit another circle. And I say it's like a ring that has facets, where you might have a small facet that's easy and it's a quick cycle, and you might have a facet that's very in depth or very large. And so you might feel like you're cycling or circling for a long time on that issue. It works the same way in intuition. We are finding the circle to the pattern. So we're looking at, here's the beginning point of the information, and then here's how it comes full circle. An example that I give when I am trying to help people understand intuition is, I'll say that maybe you see in front of, or, in your vision, or you sense, because it can come so many ways. But if you're clairvoyant, you're going to see it, a shoe and a little stuffed animal that's an elephant, and a piece of cake on a plate that has one bite out of it, and the fork is kind of thrown, to the side, and it's on the grass. And you look and you look and you look at those things, or you sense into them. What do these mean? What do these mean? But you need to open your sense wider. And what I mean by that is there's nothing scary out there. Anything that comes your way, you're able to manage. But the other truth about this is we can sense into what is the next thing. And that's where we resist. Is we stay in this, that's as much as I need to know. That's what I see and I don't know more. And when we're new at it, that tends to be what comes. But if we get a sense to orient our attention someplace other than those three things, what could be happening is there's a child running out of the woods. So our attention, as our sense comes in, is to look ahead, to look forward. And when we do that, we see that the child is taking their white clothes off and running out to the forest, taking their shoes off and so on. And then all of a sudden, those three things make sense because we clicked the pattern together, the circle or the cycle. We see the shoe that is white. They were told, take those nice clothes off before you go out and play. They were told that they have to have their piece of cake before they go out and play. So there's a bite of the cake, right? But the kid doesn't like the cake. They'd rather be out in the forest. It tells you a lot about that child. And their little lovey stuffed animal is left there too, because they feel probably safer in the woods than they do among others. Tells an awful lot about that child. So you can see how we can build that pattern, that circle or that cycle, and understand it. And I want to really impress upon you, I don't look at this as spiritual. We are here to be human, and we are capable of connecting to the quantum. It doesn't make us spiritual, it makes us human. And I'd rather stay in that context, because then we stay in how far can the human expand, and we naturally stay in curiosity, versus this is what I know, and posturing in something I call the model. And there's a almost a warning there. We're at a risk of missing it, and we're not. You can't miss this. It's always available to us, but it is a cycle. So it's like, I think what really is being said, I don't think this is what's being really said, is when we hit that circle, if we're not feeling that natural impulse to move into what is intuitive for us, our sense, right? Then we might have another cycle with it down the road where it comes in a little bit deeper. Sometimes intuition to really learn gets a little scary. And that's when most people are at the point of really clinching, figuring things out, right? They're or really being introduced into this world of being capable of championing intuition. Okay, so let's take a deeper look here. You're not going to get this by sitting around and wondering. You need to get into it. You need to question things. My example that I gave here is a really fine one for what we're talking about. You need to reorient your attention. That if your attention is on, I don't know what this means, you're never going to know what that means. But if your attention is on, I flip and want to know what that means. Like, how does that work? What is that? How does that happen? And I'll tell you, I'm the one that took intuition and said, I want to know everything. Like, I want to understand. So instead of trusting the circle in the final point, I would push further and say, what's next? Is that the end of that pattern? What happens after that? And I challenged it to a point where I learned through intuition what intuition actually is, how it works, and how to define it. But we all have a sweet spot within this. Mine is about career and relationships, which is kind of psychology, right? I mean, that's sort of where I fell in. And when I was a child, I was very capable psychologically to help people understand things. I mean, even adults when I was pretty young. And they'd say, what the heck, you know? So you may see in your childhood, you have a propensity for something. You were good with numbers, or you really liked making greeting cards, or that could be about messaging. Being in tune with numbers means you might have a good sense about the stock market, or you might have a good sense about financial means and how to navigate that. But people would say to you, that's beyond the capability of mental ability. You seem to just know things. You make the right moves at the right time, right? And I know I had a partner for a long time who was a very different type of an intuitive than I am, but we were both very intuitive. So you can, we're kind of opposites, and I'm very much in the humanities, and they're very much in science and, or rather, math and tech. So you just never know. Okay. And there's take a step back. Well, first it says take a look, and then take a step back. Now, this is what we do when we are being creative. And it's perfect because creativity is how this works. And that's, you might think I'm making this up, but you couldn't. You'll see in time that you have enough experiences where you couldn't have gotten all of that right. You just couldn't have. So this is an art form. Intuition is not a science. It is an art form. And I want you to embrace it that way. And that's where, if you can't sense it or see it, or you can hear, taste, do all these things, but in a general form, we're going to have a sense about it. You see tarot readers say things about the cards that aren't written down because they have a sense about what that card's greater meaning means, because they're used to that whole experience of tuning in. So you might step back to take a look at it with a piece of art that you're creating that's A painting, you might set it on the floor and turn it around so it's upside down to see where the composition isn't solid or isn't working. Same thing here. You're a new artist. You're figuring out how this works. You may be an intermediate artist, you may be an advanced artist, but we're taking a deeper look. Let's see how we relate to that. And what's really important, and I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart, is we don't want to have influences that tell us how it's done. We can have people that help us trust our ability, but we want to cultivate that on our own. We want to be scared when it's scary. We want to move through that, recognize our power in it, not protect ourselves, perhaps. And I had a friend say to me, I'm still needing to protect myself for now. And I think that's fair. But when you don't need to protect yourself, you've hit a different threshold because you realize there's nothing that can touch you because your power in intuition in that arena. So I'd encourage you to do that as much as you can. Be with that experience so that you can expand into it. Okay, you can expand into that expression of what that is, but we don't need to go around telling everybody, I'm an intuitive and this is how I do it. And we don't want that because it's going to get muddled for you. It's going to become egoic instead of a natural thing. Be childlike with it. Well, what's that? How do I do that? And there's something in it, almost looks like in our astrological chart that is, I don't know what this is. I've heard of it before, but it's called a Vesta. And I think it has to do with a relationship to another person or something very specific in your life. But it feels like that word wants to come out. So if you know what Vesta means, this might make more sense to you than it does to me. My sense about it is this, that it's a relationship with something that you are building. And it's not necessarily with intuition. Of course, you're learning about intuition and how it works, but you're building a relationship. Like, say with me, my work tends to be more psychological, career and relationship and interpersonal interaction, communication, so on. And yours is going to be something different. And you're building the tension with that so that you can know yourself in that quite succinctly. And the energy has changed. Since I was a child, the energy was very much more free until actually 1986 is when this energy really shifted into what we're doing now. And we're at the very tail end of it. We're so close. Oh my God, hang in there. We're so close. But when I was a child, I could be highly intuitive and say it and change the energy of a room. I mean, meaning I'd say something that would change everybody's disposition. They'd calm down, they'd come back to themselves, or stop somebody in the room from being icky. And you're going to have your own way that works. And that's going to be really dynamic, right? That's what you want to focus on. That is the piece. This could be the bottom of the triangle, which is intuition. It's the foundation. But you and your, I call it unique expansive expression. What is that? What are you showing humanity? Don't parrot off of somebody else. Be your own person. Really go inward and check it out. Get in there emotionally, clean it out, sense through where am I to head? I know it's a confusing time for some people because we feel this inside, this, ooh, I got to come out. Ooh, I got to bring something. Ooh, I want to create and I don't feel creative, or I'm struggling in this kind of counterintuitive situation. It doesn't make any sense. I get it. And still among that, we're being asked to intend that we move through and move forward and find that tension of what is your expression? How do you do it? And start. And don't get ahead of yourself. If you're new at it, just say, I'm new at this, but let's get in there and have some fun, or try this out, or I'm offering free adventures, or be open to what is possible. Our culture and our world culture, I live out in the world, I don't live in one country, so is turns on, well, particularly certain countries, money and pushing, and that's really stresses me out. So I'm going to say, I see in humanity that's not very good for us. It's not the thing that's important, right? And when we know that we're doing the thing that we really, really love, we give it for free. But also, we might even say, I don't know that I want to do that with anybody else. That's for me, right? because there's no ego in it, or there's no intensity in it. There's no what I call the model. Go look at my website for that information. So, yeah, we want to be in this energy of push back on the universe and say, I don't know. And that terrifies me. I don't know what to do. And I want to understand this. Be in it, because the payout of the universe is going to be pretty powerful these days. It wants us to ask those questions. It wants us to come through and move into what is the most true expression. When people say, this is my truth, I get frustrated because you wouldn't say it if it were, you'd know it. You get the difference? You wouldn't say it if it were truly your truth. You would simply know it, and that would be enough. And so when we say, this is my truth, we're proving something. And that tells us that is your truth under the distress of some dysfunction or some trapped trauma or some internal child parts that are not clicking fully. So we want to back off of that, right? We want to be in a place where we're thinking and operating from, I know it's true and I'm with myself as a result. I'm calm as a result because I know who I am. That's the magic. That's where it is 100% true. And people feel that, they know that, and they're going to love you for it. And that's what we all are looking for. I talk to so many women who want to go home. They want to belong. That is not asking too much. And in my work, we displace ourselves. And right now, we are massively displacing ourselves, moving around the world, doing these things, moving to different areas, finding new people. Because of that exact thing, we recognize we don't have to live under the weight of this system that is telling us to perform and be conditioned and do all of that, so that we are overriding ourselves. I don't know who to be. I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to do that. That's what our world has set up. And it's thanks to narcissism, but I call that narcissistic social disordering. So again, website. And it shows this quite lovely, almost like you've got the rope. You've got the rope and you're ready to swing. Right? So we're just ready to go in there. So if you're somebody who this little message happened upon your feed and you're just entering into a part of intuition, whether you're starting mid, that you're entering into something within intuition, this is for you. You're right on time. And it's like you have the rope, and then you're just kind of in process of knowing, when do I swing? And it's not, oh gosh, you got to swing now. Do it. There's no intensity there. It's more, you're going to know when, but then do it then and be fun and wild with it, right? See what you can make and create from that experience with it. And then there's this word or words that come, a general statement to the masses. Well, here we go. What is this? Oh, okay. I like this. As you're doing this, write down what you're experiencing or what's coming, because then you can look back and track. But for you, with this intuition piece, writing down this date, this information came my way. And people would say to me early on, I'd read for them because I was practicing decades ago. And then they'd say to me years later, I wish I had recorded that or written that down, because you've said something that I know I can remember it was in there, but it happened years later, right? It came to maybe I remember a specific one that I was reading about their child, kind of in a chronological position, but we didn't know when this thing would happen, right? Probably we weren't supposed to. So then when it happened, they said, I wish I had had that information. I think it would have helped me have more sense. And the beautiful thing is, I don't know if this is characteristic for everybody, but for me, being intuitive is extremely abstract. So sometimes it's hard for me to make sense of the rational world. That seems silly. Like, how can I not? And I'm smart enough. But that abstraction helps me see things that others can't. You might have that. You might have other things, but you'll learn that as you go. And then you can differentiate, say, hey, this is how this is what I do in this, or this is how it works for me. That's a beautiful thing. So focus on seeing what consistency, such as you're getting little information and then you're getting bigger and then you're getting little information. And when you have this all tracked, you can go back and you can actually look at that series of things and see if there's a pattern there, right? That's always pretty cool. Okay. And don't worry about doing it wrong. This is really cool. Don't worry about doing it wrong. You're not going to mess it up. You're not going to harm somebody or hurt them or have too much information where it overwhelms you. If too much information comes in, I say to my clients, never sit in fear alone until you can. You're welcome to come, through my information to my website and reach out. I'm happy to talk to you about that a little bit to help you get your mind around it, right? So that you can understand this is how this could work, right? This could be the pattern. But the other piece is be okay with the fear. And again, push back on the universal energy and say, bring me the understanding for this. I've had a lot of clients that I've advised to do that with health issues and so on, and they do it and they get an article or a video or email me and say, I can't believe it. And I'll say like within a week or say within 3 days, I get this. And it comes around for them to receive the information that they need to solve their problem fully. Amazing. And take it in stride. It looks like baby steps, almost as though you're not going up steep steps, but just ones that are more mild, a slow graduation, a slow movement into this and see. And then you get to the top, and it looks almost as though it's a little balcony where you can look out. Maybe you're talking to some people, and then you go back down and you go up another one that's a little more steep. You just keep trying this experience, seeing how it works, gathering information for yourself, because the more experience you have with it, the more you'll see how naturally it works with you and how it works for you. And that is really where the power in it is. Okay. And when we're new at it, we might get the experience of a push where it's like, oh my gosh, I just know this thing about this person. Like one time somebody talked to me and they were talking about their mother-in-law. And then we were together about a week and a half later. And I said the medicine, like their prescriptions. And I said, you told me those prescriptions. They said, I don't even know what their prescriptions that they're on. And I don't know personally any drugs. I don't even know what I was talking about. But sometimes we can get that push and we can say it and the other person will just, no. Or I also noticed in my experience when I was new at it that I would get information that I'd tell somebody, hey, this thing came my way and blah, blah. They couldn't even hear me. And that was perfect. It's like it protected itself or it helped me have this training ground where I didn't have to worry about people being odd with me. I mean, because this happened for me a long time ago where I could do this. So, it's been a long time before people were really mainstream. It's much more mainstream. Not totally. We're getting there. But soon enough, it will be mainstream. So get in there and get to work. Just kidding. You remember what they said? The universe was so kind. I wasn't. Hold the rope and you'll know when to let go and swing forward and move into it and articulate through it. Okay. And the message is you're going to get this. You're going to get this. It's almost, well, what it shows visually is a puzzle where you have a lot of the pieces, but you're missing some of the key pieces to see what the actual image is. And that's what we're filling in right now, is we're filling in how do we see the whole picture with intuition. This is lovely. Oh, I love to see this, that soon enough, you will be rock solid in being connected to your intuition. And the reason is the energy is on our side. We're not quite there. We haven't come full circle, right? But we're coming far in this expression and this experience. It feels like it might follow us a bit beyond this 1 week, but there's definitely a nice amount of energy to be a catalyst. And some people might be ready to let go and take the rope and swing. So fill in your puzzle pieces, ask the questions. The only thing it's asking not to do is retreat, but I would say it might be good to tune into it each day for just even a few minutes. I used to do this. Hey, you can do this. Before I'd go to bed at night, I would say, show me something. And I'd see something. And then I'd ask, tell me more about that. And then I'd experience more about that. Now, I am first and foremost clairvoyant. You might not be, but try that out. See if that's something as a way to relate with it daily to show you are invested in this. That's all you're showing. You don't need to get incredible things. You don't need to tell anybody. It's you investing in it. Invest in yourself. Okay. Like, share, follow, do all the things. I'm going to be here doing a weekly reading every week, and I hope you'll join me. And I hope that this is helping you out. If you liked it, definitely leave me a little thumbs up. Thank you.